Zack Snyder's Justice League stars Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Ray Fisher. And this film is directed by, well, you guessed it, Zack Snyder. To say that this film was a long time coming would be quite the understatement. In case you don't know the backstory of how this film was released, then let me explain it to you. But if you are well versed in this subject and you just want to see my full review, skip to this timestamp, which will also be linked in the description, so go down and click on it if you want my full review right now. This film was set to be released in November of 2017, and it was supposed to be directed by Zack Snyder himself. And yes, there was a film released in 2017 called Justice League that has Zack Snyder's name slapped on it, though that film is completely stripped of Zack Snyder's original vision. The reason why this was the case was because in the middle of production of Justice League, Zack Snyder's daughter had tragically taken her own life, and Zack Snyder had to leave the set for obvious reasons. And instead of doing the honorable thing, Warner Brothers was hell-bent on their November 2017 release date. And so they decided to bring on Joss Whedon to finish the film, though instead of finishing Zack Snyder's vision, he decided to chop it up and make the movie he wanted to make. To say that Joss Whedon completely slaughtered Zack Snyder's movie would be quite an understatement. What ended up coming out was a very poor man's version of a Marvel movie, chock-filled with cheap jokes, crappy CGI, and very, very undeveloped characters. Also, Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon decided to get rid of almost all of Zack Snyder's character building scenes and replace them with utterly atrocious comedic scenes. Overall, the end product was a complete disaster for Warner Brothers. Justice League was a box office bomb and almost critically panned by critics and fans. After the disastrous release of the 2017 Justice League movie, there were reports of Zack Snyder's original cut for this movie still existing, and fans across the internet decided to start the movement of releasing the Snyder Cut. There were billboards around the world and millions upon millions of fans tweeting about this. And 3 years later, Warner Brothers finally delivered and decided to drop the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. But is the Snyder Cut better than the theatrical version? Absolutely yes. This is a dramatically better movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League manages to beat out the theatrical cut in every single conceivable way. Everything that movie did wrong, this one does right. You might call me a Snyder fanboy, and I'm not. I might get a lot of hate for this, but I'm not much of a big fan of Man of Steel or Batman vs. Superman. I felt like that those movies bit off more than they were able to chew, and they were just overly grim and dark for really no reason. That's just my opinion. I know that those movies have a lot of fans, but those movies didn't really do anything for me. And when I heard about the Snyder Cut, that they were finally releasing it, I was hoping that it was going to be better than the theatrical version, but I didn't really have my expectations too high, since I wasn't a fan of Snyder's first two DCU movies. But this one is easily the best out of his DC trilogy. Don't get me wrong, this is a very dark movie, but at the same time, this movie doesn't take itself too seriously. Characters crack jokes, and it doesn't feel forced or out of character. Also, Henry Cavill gives a fantastic performance as Superman. I think this is his best performance as Superman by far, and I'm dying to see more of this. Okay, I'm now going to address the elephant in the room. Yes, this movie is very long, clocking in at almost 4 hours. And there are minor pacing issues, though I would much rather take a movie with minor pacing issues and fleshed out characters than a very rushed out movie that doesn't even have character to it. Yes, they could have shaved off at least a half hour of this movie, but the 4 hour long runtime lets these characters breathe and develop. In the theatrical cut of this movie, characters just made decisions because the plot demanded them to. But here, you understand their decisions, you understand their motivations, and you can get behind these characters, and you even begin to care about them. In the theatrical cut of Justice League, Cyborg felt like he was a monster because plot. But here you understand his conflict. He is an outcast of society. The theatrical cut tells you this. This version shows you how he is an outcast and how people look at him like he's a monster. Also, Aquaman and Flash have much improved motivations. They are there for a reason. They're not just there because plot. But in my opinion, Ezra Miller's performance as the Flash was a little much for me, though he grew on me as the movie went on. Also, the Flash has a much more pivotal role in the final action set piece, and it is much better than him pushing a minivan for some reason. I don't know what they were thinking. But every single character in that final action scene mattered. They had a reason for being there. In the theatrical cut of Justice League, the worst character in that movie was probably the villain Steppenwolf. He was just a big, gray, bad guy for the heroes to stop, and the reason why he wanted to take over the world was, well, because he was evil. But here he actually has a motivation for wanting to take over the universe. Even though Steppenwolf's motivations aren't nearly as compelling as, let's say, Thanos' motivations, but they still feel believable, and they still work for the context of this movie. Also, Steppenwolf's new design looks super cool. It blows the original out of the water. I watched this film twice. Once in color and once in black and white. The black and white version looks amazing in some scenes, though the bright colors of the action scenes are obviously lost in this version. So overall, I prefer the color version, but I still highly recommend watching both. Now let's talk about some of the more technical aspects of this film. The 4:3 aspect ratio was a change of pace for me, but as the movie went on, I got used to it. Though a lot of people have been complaining about Wonder Woman's new score. I personally love Wonder Woman's new theme, though Zack Snyder clearly really loved Wonder Woman's new theme and decided to use it a lot. It did get a little tiring towards the end of the movie, but it still doesn't take away that I really like this new theme for Wonder Woman, and I hope to see it more. And on one more final note, I should probably give you advice on how to watch this movie. Not a lot of people, including me, have time to sit and watch the whole 4-hour movie in one sitting. Though, if you do, go for it. I'm actually kind of jealous of you. Though, this movie is divided up into parts, or chapters, and every 45 minutes there's always a title card dividing the chapters. So I recommend watching this movie in those chapters, and as soon as one of those title cards come up, take a break if you want. That's how I enjoyed this movie. Saying that Zack Snyder's Justice League is a massive improvement over the 2017 version is quite the understatement. I would highly recommend giving this movie a watch, despite of its obnoxiously long runtime and slight pacing issues. Though, I am going to give Zack Snyder's Justice League an A-. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And if you did, make sure to give this video a like. And if you want more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell notification so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And shout out to the planet Jupiter and Leonardo DiCaprio. Thanks for watching.